Hello, my name is Doug Gentry, and welcome to the External Environment of Leadership course offered by St. Mary's College of California. Our goal in this video clip is to give you a brief introduction to the course itself, how we're organizing it, but also to take you a little bit on a tour of Blackboard so you can see how I use it in providing materials and support for your journey through this course. First, a little bit about the course. Its title, External Environment, obviously means that as leaders you're looking out at the world around you, whether it's locally or regionally, nationally, or even globally. It's important for us as leaders to understand what is going on around us, how it may impact us, and how we may use our positions of leadership and our thoughtful consideration of the world around us to affect change. Now we're going to do this mostly through using economic tools. We'll be looking at a lot of public policy issues and our initial approach to them will be to use some tools that economics offers as a way to understand what is going around us. For the first face-to-face session and then the first 5 weeks of the course, we'll be exploring some of the building blocks of economic concepts that'll help us in this exploration of that world around us. So we'll be looking at issues of microeconomics. That's what has to do with markets and how buyers and sellers and the government behave in those markets. We'll also be looking at issues of macroeconomics, and that has to do with adding up all of those millions and millions of market transactions and understanding how they work on a larger scene at our state level, our national level, or even globally. In macroeconomics, we're looking at things like income and output and unemployment and inflation rates and all the kinds of things you often read in the paper. Now, equipped with some of those building blocks and some of those concepts, we'll then spend the second part of our course exploring some pertinent policy issues that are swirling around the world around us. You'll have a chance to scan through several of those and then pick one and do some more research on it, develop an issue or a policy paper on that issue and share it with me as the instructor, and then ultimately share it with your classmates in our final face-to-face class. It'll be quite a journey. I'm looking forward to it, and by the time we meet again at the final face-to-face class, I'm looking forward to understanding how these various issues have come together for you and how your view of the world around you has progressed. Let's just talk a little bit about Blackboard. Now, you're watching this video, you probably found it by going to the Getting Started link in the Blackboard course site. In addition to, and I encourage you to read the other sections of the Getting Started section. Then, as you return to the Blackboard site, and this is true for any of my courses that I offer online, the key place for you to visit each time is the Class Materials link. You'll see it over on the left. If you click on that link, you'll find that there are folders set aside, one for each week of the course. If you click on the title of the folder, you'll find objectives and key topics that we want to cover that week. You'll find suggestions for outside reading, whether it's in a textbook or in a downloadable file. You'll often find a folder called Learning Resources, and in there you may find links to other YouTube videos such as this one, or other resources available outside, often on the internet. Class materials will also have reminders and pointers to the weekly discussion sessions that we'll be engaged in together. So within class materials, you'll find the link to that discussion topic. Of course, you can get there directly through the discussion forum link, but class materials will remind you about what's due that particular week. And then finally, there's often a shorter written assignment, a short essay that where you're asked to apply some of the concepts that you're learning, and you'll find those also listed under class materials. So what I recommend you do fairly frequently is to come to the Blackboard course site and go right to class materials, check out the current week folder. It's often a good idea to also check the previous week and the coming week, just to make sure that you haven't left anything behind, or to let you plan a little bit on the weeks coming in advance. Now, I do make use of the gradebook in Blackboard, and so you can check and make sure that your assignments have been turned in. You're probably pretty experienced with it by now, and will know that if you see an exclamation mark in the My Grades link, if you click on My Grades and if you see an exclamation mark in a particular assignment, that means you've successfully submitted the assignment and the ball is in my court to grade it. If you see a padlock, however, that means that you have saved your assignment but have not yet submitted it to me to be read and scored. So if you see a padlock, it's a good idea to go back to that assignment, open it up again, and then make sure you push the Submit button. Now, there also is a syllabus on the Blackboard site, and just like with any course, that's an important thing to read through, certainly at the beginning of the course, and then perhaps as a reminder partway through. The syllabus really lists out my expectations and plans for the course, and it serves in a way as a sort of contract between you and me. So give it a look. I know syllabi are sort of deadly dull, and you don't have to read or memorize them very often, but it's a good idea to make sure you go through it at least once thoroughly. Now, another thing you're going to find on Blackboard is a link to another tool that I make available to you. Over on the left, you'll see a link to Economics Blog. And what that is a blog that actually I write. It's called Plain Sense Economics, and it's written for you, for my students. My intent is to provide information that's accessible to students who are approaching economics for the first time. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see a variety of topics, topics and categories listed. Some of them just offer explanations of key economic topics, and if you click on it, you'll see some blog postings that are just that. They're like small excerpts from a textbook. There's also postings there where I've attempted to take some of those basic economic concepts and find applications for them in the real world. This is really a current events commentary, and as we watch things going on in the world around us, and as I spot something that I think may be appropriate for my students, I'll share them there. So I encourage you to visit this economics blog fairly regularly. Just cruise around, read some of the postings, maybe look, if you're trying to understand a concept like opportunity or cost, look for that in the categories over on the left, and use it as a supplement to any of the other learning resources that we may offer. Now, speaking of learning resources, I have provided for a textbook that you can use, especially in the early weeks when you're on your early journey through some of these basic economic concepts. It's an online economics textbook. After you register, which is free, with a webbook site, you can go to the book online, and you can actually read the text and see the charts and the pictures and the problems and so for free. As long as you're looking at it online, it is free for you to use, no charge. You have some other options if you would prefer to have a copy sort of in front of you or not on your computer screen. You can pay a modest amount, I think something less than $2, to download an individual chapter. It comes in a PDF form, and then you can either read it on your computer offline or print it out on your home printer. You can also order printed copies of the textbook if you would like. They would come shipped to you, either in a black and white or a color version. And you're welcome to do that, although you need to understand that, as with any other shipping organization, it will take a while for those to get to you, and in our case, in an 8-week course, it would you'd be quite a ways through the course before your textbook actually arrived. So I think I recommend that you either read the textbook online or download individual chapters that you may want to look at a little bit more thoroughly. So now that we've gone through just a little bit of an introduction to the course and a little bit of introduction to Blackboard, I encourage you to read the rest of the Getting Started section and then turn to class materials. I look forward to working with all of you. Please reach out to me either by email or phone, and this will be a great journey that we'll have together.